Hey folks, welcome back. Today I want to talk about intimate relationships. For many years, I never really understood just how much my childhood shaped the way I dated, the partners I chose, and even the kind of love that I believed I deserved. I thought I was just making normal life decisions, making normal choices that everyone else makes. But looking back, I realize now that many of those choices weren't really mine. They were shaped by survival, by expectations, and really by the kind of love I grew up watching, even when that love was not healthy. And I think a lot of us can relate to that and those feelings. When I was younger, I always tried to do what was expected of me. Be strong, take care of everybody, hold everything together, don't cause problems, keep moving forward. So when I started dating my first husband, it wasn't that the relationship was bad, but it also wasn't great. I just didn't know the difference because I'd never really seen what a healthy relationship looked like. And in my head, I remember thinking, this is so much better than what my parents had. So I guess that means I'm winning and I'm doing the right things. But better than bad is not the same as being healthy. It took me a long time to realize that. I remember reading when I was a teenager somewhere, I don't even know, that relationships and marriages are most successful when somebody has been dating for 2 years prior to getting engaged. And instead of treating that like a guideline, I treated it like a rule, like a deadline. So around the 2-year mark, I started saying, it's time. This is what comes next. This is what we're supposed to do. I was only 21. There was no reason to rush. I had plenty of time. But in my mind, this is what comes next. Plus, people were asking, when are you going to get married? My family was pressuring that. My family had expectations. And I was so used to living up to everyone else's expectations that I didn't even really stop to ask myself, is this what I want? Is he really the right person for me? Are we a compatible long-term match? There were so many red flags that when I look back now, but at the time, I was so focused on those expectations instead of really thinking about what I deserved as I moved forward into this next stage of life. And once we got engaged, something shifted. My ex stopped putting any effort into the relationship, especially in the ways that mattered most to me. Words of affirmation are my primary love language, and that completely disappeared. The support disappeared, the effort disappeared. It was like he had decided, well, I caught her, so now I don't have to try anymore. I often joke to my friends that my marriage ended because we got engaged and really before it even begun. But you live and you learn and you move forward. And at the time, even though I wasn't happy, I didn't end things. I just kept rationalizing to myself. I'm stressed. It will get better after the wedding. Things are just busy right now. And at that time in my life, I was under extreme stress. I was dealing with law enforcement regarding my father. There were investigations, planning, emotional turmoil, all that happening at the same time while planning the wedding, dealing with my mother, and trying to protect my sisters. My nervous system was in full survival mode, and you can't make big decisions while in survival mode. Back then, I didn't know how to slow down and just say, wait, this doesn't feel right. Let's sit and meditate on this for a minute to make sure we're making the right decision. Instead, I just kept going because that's what I'd always done. I've always kept going, held it together, doing what was expected, going through that to-do list of everything that needed to be done. That was me. And I'll never forget the day of my wedding. My best friend, Catherine, all dressed up all nice, me in my bridal dress, nice and pretty and white and young. And she stood there and she looked at me and she says, we can still call this off if you want to. And I was horrified, even by the thought, not because it was a bad suggestion, but because I said, we can't. We have 100 people out there waiting for me to walk down this aisle in 3 minutes. I can't call this off. So that really sums up how I was living my life at the time. I wasn't choosing my life. I was performing inside of it, doing what everyone else expected. And I was living for expectations instead of alignment. Looking back, I can see the pattern so clearly now. I always ended up in caretaker or fixer roles. I was always the steady one, the responsible one, the one who gave and supported and carried the emotional load in the relationship. And on some level, I think that maybe I believed that this is what I deserved. Maybe this is what I was meant for. I knew I was damaged. Maybe people who aren't fully healthy and secure don't end up with people like me. So I'll take what I can get. Being needed felt like love, but it wasn't a partnership, and it was very draining. At the time, I didn't know to ask this question that I now use as a compass. Is this relationship nourishing me, or is it draining me? And for a long time, the answer to many and pretty much all of my relationships would have been draining. And yet I stayed anyway. Therapy really changed that for me. Not overnight, not magically, but one step at a time, conversation after conversation, I really started to understand my internal patterns. I learned how often I overrode my own intuition. I'd see red flags and think, oh, it's fine. I can fix this. I'm overreacting. It's not a big deal. Or again, it's not as bad as my parents, so this must be better. It's okay. My therapist really helped me to recalibrate that internal meter, and it really helped me to find my own self-worth in the process. We would talk through dates. We would talk about situations, about relationship dynamics, and I started to learn what healthy actually looks like, and more often than not, what doesn't look healthy, and really be able to retrain my mind to understand and recognize those red flags when they arose. I began asking better questions. Whose expectations am I living up to? Are they mine or are they someone else's? Is this relationship nourishing me or is it draining me? Do I feel chosen or just useful? Am I being taken advantage of or are we equally giving to each other? And once I started asking those questions, my entire life and especially relationships I was in completely shifted. Today, my relationship to love is completely different. I stopped choosing projects and instead started choosing partners. I became comfortable being alone, truly alone. No partners, no dating, and I was peaceful in that. And once I wasn't afraid of being alone anymore, I stopped settling just to be in a relationship. Anyone joining my life had to add to it positively instead of depleting me. Very, very important. With my now husband, I was very intentional about mutual effort. When we started dating, we had real conversations about not falling into caretaker dynamics. And listen, we're all human. We continue to struggle at times to find balance in chores with emotional load, some other those things. But the difference is that he tries. And we talk about it and we adjust and we show up for each other. And we're both on the same page about what giving in a partnership looks like. We show up for each other. That reciprocity matters. I also honor my intuition now. And I'm not talking about dating because of course I'm not dating anymore. But if something doesn't sit right in my body, I don't ignore it anymore. I listen, I check in, and I trust myself. And I no longer measure love by how much I can carry. I measure it by how much we both contribute to the life that we're building together. And this can apply to personal relationships, not intimate relationships as well. My childhood absolutely shaped the way I dated, the way I loved, and the way I married. But healing shaped the way I love now. If you grew up without healthy relationship models, it doesn't mean that you're broken or incapable of love. It just means that you need to learn it consciously instead of by example. And that kind of love, the love you grow into through healing, is incredibly powerful. If any of this resonates with you, if you ever stayed for expectations or ignored your intuition or found yourself in a caretaker role, you're not alone. And you deserve a relationship that nourishes you too. It took me a long time, but it's well worth the effort. Thank you for being here with me. I'm Janae Cherie, and I hope that my story helps you to tell yours. If you know someone who might need this, feel free to share it, and you're always welcome to subscribe to join this community.